The first empire in human history did not fall in battle. No invading army burned its cities. No legendary conqueror defeated its king. Instead, something silent began to spread across the land. The rivers slowed, the winds carried dust, and the sky stopped giving rain. At its peak, the mighty Akkadian Empire ruled the fertile lands between the Tigris River and the Euphrates River. Cities prospered. Trade flowed across deserts and mountains. Armies marched beneath banners that seemed unstoppable. For the first time in history, dozens of powerful cities obeyed a single ruler. It looked like the beginning of an empire that might last forever. But then, something strange began to happen. Harvests started failing. Dust storms darkened the horizon. And within a few decades, the greatest empire on Earth began to unravel. So how does a civilization this powerful simply disappear? The answer may lie in one of the most mysterious climate disasters in human history. And what destroyed this empire began with something no king could control. 4,000 years ago, the lands of Mesopotamia were filled with powerful city-states. Each city had its own ruler, its own army, its own ambitions. They traded, they fought, they constantly competed for power. Then, one man changed everything. His name was Sargon of Akkad. No one knows exactly how he rose to power. Some legends claim he was born in secret and placed in a basket on a river as a child. But what history reveals is even more remarkable. Sargon did something no king had ever done. He conquered city after city across Mesopotamia and united them under one rule. One by one, rival kingdoms fell beneath his armies. Soon, a vast new power emerged. The Akkadian Empire stretched across enormous territories of the ancient Near East. For the first time in human history, dozens of cities answered to one emperor. Trade flourished. Caravans crossed deserts carrying copper, silver, and rare goods. Grain filled enormous storehouses. The empire seemed unstoppable. But beyond the cities and palaces, something dangerous had already begun. Something slow, something silent. The sky was changing. In Mesopotamia, civilization lived and died by water. The great rivers flooded fields with fertile soil. Seasonal rains nourished crops. Without water, nothing survived. At first, the changes were subtle. The rains arrived late. Harvests grew smaller. Farmers waited patiently. Surely the weather would return to normal. But then another dry year arrived, and another. Across the northern lands of the empire, fertile fields slowly turned into cracked earth. Dust storms swept across farmland. Entire harvests failed. Villages that had thrived for generations suddenly faced starvation. Families packed what little they owned and began moving south. They hoped the great cities still had food, but the cities were beginning to struggle too. Grain supplies shrank, crowded streets filled with desperate refugees, and the drought showed no sign of ending. The land that fed the empire was beginning to die. Around 2200 BC, something extraordinary happened. The climate shifted dramatically across large regions of the planet. Today, scientists call this the 4.2 Kiloyear climate event. But to the people living through it, it was simply disaster. Rainfall collapsed across the Middle East. Rivers shrank. Dust storms became more violent. Agricultural lands dried into barren soil. And the fertile lands that once powered the Akkadian Empire began to fail. The empire was facing something far worse than war. Armies can defeat enemies, but drought destroys everything. When food disappears, loyalty disappears too. Cities that once feared the armies of the Akkadian Empire began resisting imperial control. Provinces stopped sending tribute. Governors who once obeyed the emperor began ignoring his orders. The empire began to fracture. And as chaos spread, enemies saw opportunity. From the mountains to the east came a fierce people known as the Gudians. They were not a vast empire, but they did not need to be, because the Akkadian world was already collapsing from within. Food shortages weakened cities, supply lines failed, armies struggled to defend distant territories, rebellions spread across the land,
and the drought continued tightening its grip. The empire wasn't just losing control, it was losing the land itself. Archaeologists studying ancient sites across northern Mesopotamia discovered something chilling. Around the time the empire collapsed, entire regions were suddenly abandoned. Not gradually, suddenly. Cities that once held thousands of people were emptied. Farms were deserted. Trade routes vanished. For nearly 3 centuries, many of these lands remained sparsely populated. This was not simply the fall of a government, it was the collapse of an entire civilization system. Agriculture failed, trade networks collapsed, political authority vanished, and the once mighty Akkadian Empire disappeared from history. But its story carries a warning. Powerful societies often believe they are permanent, stable, unbreakable. But sometimes, the greatest threats do not come from invading armies. They come from slow environmental change, a failing harvest, a shrinking river, a silent drought. And suddenly, even the most powerful civilization can disappear. The Akkadians never imagined their empire would vanish. Yet today, their cities lie buried beneath layers of desert dust. And the forces that ended the first empire on Earth still exist today. If you enjoy uncovering forgotten stories like this, subscribe, because history is filled with powerful civilizations that believe